Hello, can you hear me? Is anybody there? I think one person is. On time is early. Yeah, exactly. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up or a comment there. It will be sweet. Okay, good. And you hear the guitar? I have never done this before. And I imagine I'm going to be able to save it afterwards. I have no idea. Should I set the camera so it looks like I'm looking at it when I talk? Maybe that helps. Yepper. All right. So, what's happening? The modal phone number. That thing can tell us a lot. The first thing I want to talk about with you is those three shapes that define the phone number. And I'll try to keep it clean and quiet. There's the two whole steps, that shape. There's the whole step, half step. And then there's the half step, whole step. Hopefully you have a guitar and you're working on this. I like thinking of it from a couple of different ways. I like thinking of a chord progression and looking at the chords within it. Let's just say for the sake of it, I have come up with two chords that are like in a row, like a D and a C. Okay, so one thing I did was just before this, I set up with the bass sound on the guitar, a little loop and some drums. Hopefully this won't be too loud. Give me a comment if it's too loud, turn it down or something. What I'm looking at is a C and a D, or a D and a C. There's a C. So there's a D. And if I just play power chords, I can pretty much define whatever it is I'm playing myself, because that power chord doesn't have a major third. It doesn't go, and it doesn't go. It doesn't do either one of those. It just has a root in the fifth note of that scale. And we'll get to where I'm particularly thinking here in a second. So, and then same thing here. And that's what I did with the bass. I just kind of went there, D to C. Real simple, real easy, like anybody could do it. But what's cool about it is then I can start to define what that bass is doing by adding the thirds. So you see there, I added a D minor, a minor third, and then that C, I was giving it a major. And it kind of gives it an ominous sound. So that would be us looking at a minor shape for the D and then a major shape for the C. And what you can start to see happen, I'm defining two shapes of that phone number. Real quick, I'll go over the phone number again. Maybe Byron will type it out. 1 4 7 3 6 2. And remember, when we get to that B and E string, we shift up so we don't go. We go. Shift to that. So that gives us our major scale. And that's G in that particular case. Right here, we could look at C major and apply the Ionian or that first shape. And I can do it right here to get a little more. And if you do it here, the string shift happens between these two numbers. 1 4 7 3. There's the 3, 3, 4. So you hear there's the 4. Gives it that kind of lifted, suspended note. That's why they call it a suspension. And there it is, acting as the 3rd of the D. So you can play Ionian over that. You can play that whole. You can play that, but Ionian always sounds so weird. So the goal of looping and being creative with it all is not to sound like you're playing pirate music, not to sound like that's what you get with Ionian. So where else can we find in that phone number the relationship that gives us this shape and this shape next to each other going up? So or in other words, where can we find a chord progression that has a major and then one whole step away, a minor that's formed? So C major, D minor, that could be found in the key of C, Ionian, but you'll also find it in the key of F. If you go to the key of F, your 1 chord is there, and then your 4 is that B flat. The 5 of that phone number is there. So in the key of F, we see the C shape, the C chord give us that 5 shape, that major shape. And then we see the 6 shape, which we know is minor. If you haven't watched that video, watch it after my thing, the Modal Phone Number, reviewing a guitar for the practicing musician thing I did. I go on and on and on, kind of like I'm doing right now. But I'm trying to give you an idea of how to get creative with that, maybe a simple chord progression, and how to then establish the phone number with it. So the F, key of F is going to give us F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, and then F again. Oh, hey, Paul, what's happening, brother? So everything and sacrifice a cat. Oh, well, hopefully the cat's okay. Just got it on a stick or something. Anyway, hi. In the key of F, we find that C major and a D minor. So instead of getting all piratey sounding with this progression, we can think of ourselves in the key of F and think of this phone number as starting on 5. So that's going to give us 5. And then going up the neck, that'll give us, if you know the phone number when you get to the 5, it repeats over again. So that's going to give us 5 on the C. And then on the D string, you get the 1 shape, another major shape, and then you get another major shape there on the G string. And that gives you a different sound then. We're officially mixolydian there. The 5th degree of major gives you that dominant 7th sound. I have a major 3rd, but I have a minor 7th. And that's where this comes in handy. 5, 1, 4, 7. Remember, the 7 is going to skip up a fret anyways, and then skip up a fret because here we're going to the B string. So 5, 1, 4, 7, 3. And then when we're on the D, we'd be looking at that 6th degree. So 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, 5, 6, 2, 5. There's our 5 again. We've hit these octaves. And that's always great to find within a progression, because let's say you do something like, and it works, then you just go, right there we wouldn't do it because that's minor, but you could just go up 2 strings, 2 frets. So I'll give you an example of how it sounds when we do mixolydian over that progression. There's C, still minor. Hold on, let's do it over again. So it gives you different chords. Instead of a major 7 on that C, you're getting a dominant 7. When you can think of being an F major, if you want to think of the one position, if you ever need to kind of reset yourself, think of that one position again based off of that 5. 1, 4, 5. So there's the 6, 7, and there you are again. There's your F. But then, you know, you're not really kind of trying to bring out an F chord. You're trying to bring out these notes within that modal phone number that kind of give you that feeling. I don't really know. I don't think I want to just sit here and create another loop in front of everybody live, because that can kind of be a little bit goofy. Looping with the concept of taking 2 chords and moving them around is kind of what I want to get at. So why don't I stay on these 2 chords, this D and C? We hear the bass. Why don't I just give us a little, I'll add to the loop. So now I have basically just kind of added octaves and fifths again, oh high. And if I play in that Mixolydian mode, so Mixolydian on the C and Dorian on the D. So you can see I moved up a position there to kind of get this whole thing going. So that gives you the roots. You get it a little clean again. Back to this D chord, we got the Dorian mode, and then that's going to be 6, 1, 4, 7, 3, 6, 2, which they look alike. Remember, this modal phone number gives us kind of string pairings that are similar, and it's great to find them together because that gives you locations on your map. And so we got 6, 2, 5. So 5, 1, 4. So you get your 3 major shapes in a row again. That's the great thing about finding 5. 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. So you got 1, 4. You got 5, 1, 4. 7. I think playing with the loop, where I kind of started talking about playing with the loop, was if you're in a creative mode, a looper is a great place to kind of go. You have an idea of where you want to explore, you know, like somebody's handed you like 2 letters, 2 chords, something that just, or you hear something within your playing and you think to yourself, oh, I like that. What am I going to do with it? And you loop it, and then you can start exploring. Once you've really started exploring, it gives you a comfort level of all that. And, you know, first off, your timing and everything, but playing with the looper and helping my memory of these patterns, it definitely helps, especially once I kind of really start to get into a jam for a while. And we are really going for it. Kevin and I, you know, we have the drum kit behind me here somewhere. Yeah, back there. When we really start going, you guys, you'll see like 2 or 3 minutes when I do a video of us together. But a lot of times that'll be like a 10-minute jam, and I'll find the best spot where it's like, all right, we really locked into something here. Let's take that and put it up. So it's a good way of kind of figuring out what is a good habit and a bad habit over certain chords, like recognizing a progression and then being able to kind of say to yourself, oh, okay, that's 2 major chords in a row. So if we did 2 major chords in a row, that gives us a whole different sound than this minor chord and a major chord, or even a minor chord and a 7th of some sort. You know, so I do think that this phone number helped me remember a lot of things before I actually was even able to apply the concept of looping and feel creative with it. I really wanted to sit down and, you know, when I first got into looping, I really wanted to just be able to be on my own in a room, because, you know, so many times at that point, I was in between bands or I was trying to write something. I would just get into this creative funk because I couldn't remember what I had just played a couple minutes before, because I started exploring something else, you know. So I found looping to be a great way to kind of actually build a couple of favorite styles of chord progressions and then identifying them in other songs, you know. So hopefully that answers your question. The whole concept of taking these 2 chords and playing completely different modes over them, like we could try what I was just doing instead of playing the minors. It sounds totally different. You get like that kind of a Night Ranger song kind of a thing, or Lydian or Satriani. If you do this, if you do 2 majors in a row, the 5, which would be in the key of G now. If we were looking at the 1, 4, and 5, if we were in the key of G but just played C and D, or in this case D and C, all right, cool, good. If we're going D and C but in the key of G, that gives us the key of D and Mixolydian, and that whole shape, 5, and then the key of Lydian for the C, which gives you that sound. Should sound familiar. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike for that. But as opposed to, so obviously that's suspended 4th that's raised. That's an augmented 4th. And that's present in the Lydian. So that would be the 4th mode of G. And if we did this whole thing, there's D Lydian, D Mixolydian, and then C Lydian. See how that F sharp there really gives. So totally different sound than either of the 2 ways that I played over that D and C earlier. And probably a little bit better because to kind of go back to your question, I really have gotten into Lydian mode and the Mixolydian modes, and even Dorian. I feel comfortable in those. If I was jamming over that in D Dorian, I'm sorry, I keep calling it Dorian. That's Aeolian. I got the flatted minor 6 there. That's Aeolian. And the Dorian mode would work too. Look. Right. 1, 2. So each one of these phone numbers, they're all different by one number. The Ionian, and then the Lydian, those major shapes, the Lydian has that raised 4. That's the difference. So the Mixolydian has a regular 4th, but it has a lowered 7th. So the 5, 5, 5, 1, 4. Gives you that sound as opposed to. So you hear that Lydian sound in, like, you know, when the big movie scene where all of a sudden everybody in the Disney film starts crying and it's like, oh joy, look, the baby survived the fire. Oh. Yeah, whatever it was, you know, something like that. Anyway, you get my drift. The whole idea of using the phone number to kind of figure out what 2 chords you're working with, or 4 chords even. You start adding 4 chords, it really starts to define exactly where you are if you stay in that key. You start moving keys around and stuff like that, then yeah, it's going to get, you're going to start getting a little bit different, a different kind of a vibe, obviously. Key changes really make a big difference in a song. I'm not going to try to get into that right now. I'm mostly talking about how the phone number works over a vamp or something like that. The easiest way is to get a looper and figure out a couple of really cool progressions that you like. I really want to thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you got something from this. Hopefully I'm going to figure out how to save this right now. And I'd really love to do this on Thursday nights a little more often. So let me, Thursday nights kind of tend to be free unless I have a gig. I've just taken a couple of band things. So summer's going to get busy, but I really enjoy YouTube, and I've really been meaning to get to some of the questions that people have asked about how to apply this phone number to looping. Figure out a couple of chords you like, loop them, and then start applying that phone number to all the sequences that you're working with, and just start to see how it happens. It's a really rejuvenating way of practicing using a looper. You get away from just using the same old things over and over again. If you're used to just sitting and jamming, you know, doing the same thing, you know, your G, D, C, whatever, you get so used to just doing the same things over and over again. Look, I talk about wrapping up, and then all of a sudden 2 more people pop in. Hi, everybody. Hey, Paul. So I got a couple Pauls in the house. Nice. Paul, you'll really enjoy what I kind of went over before. So make sure you watch the review here. Oh, and another person. I'm going to save this stream when we get done. So the whole concept, like I was getting at, is using the phone number to figure out a chord progression and use it to become kind of inspired to play something different. Well, heck, we have a couple of different people here. Why don't I just clean that loop? Okay, I got it. Paul Kavanaugh, write 1 letter from A to G. And Paul Pachowski, write another letter. 2, we're going to come up with 2 chords together right now. And I won't make either one of them major. All right, so we got a D. All right, oh, God, don't say C, Paul. Don't say C. We've been doing, oh, good. Okay, great. Okay, because I've been doing D to C for the beginning of the video. So the first thing I'd notice in that is that the B and the D, that's a minor third, okay? So that's going to limit my choices right there as to what shapes I'm going to really be able to use. I'm going to have a minor third built into that progression. And that's kind of cool. That's a good thing to have. It's melodic, you know. That's a D major to a B minor. Obviously, the D and the B have a relationship as being minor thirds. So immediately the first thing that I think of is a D major and a B minor. We could do, let's see, could we? No, we really couldn't. If we did if I did a D minor, that would give me an F. And then if I went to the B, I'd have an F sharp. So if we wanted to kind of adjust that, we could go D minor and then lower that 5th to here. And then you get the flatted 5th sound. So we can do this totally minor, I guess, now that I think about it, which is going to give us a 2 shape and then a 7 shape right here. So that gives us a half step, and it gives us this 1, 4, 7, 3, 3 right here, the 3 shape. 3, 6, 2, up a shift because the D string, and then 5. So you see, that's C major. There's the 1, 4, 7, 3, 6. But we won't play a C major. We'll play a D, D minor, and a B minor with a flatted 5th. Because that's actually what that 7 shape gives you. 7. It works just right to give you that. So let's play minor on both of those, and I'll make a bass loop that just plays those 2 notes. C major. I can think no sharps, no flats. I think that C in the 1 position here, but kind of bring out the B and the D more. So you get my point. I lose people when I just start noodling. So that would be how I would do that. I would immediately look to see the relationships of the thirds between those 2, and then try to establish the 5ths, and then try to figure out where in the phone number that progression happens. And it happens at the 2 and the 7. And darn cool progression. So if you did it more like, and then true power chords, you'd get something totally different. I already created the minor loop, but try that at home maybe. You know, that could be something that you guys can mess with tonight. Try messing around with D and B over the looper. 2 bars of D, 2 bars of B. I like doing that just to give it kind of a feeling of a little more space on each chord. Instead of like 1 bar and then 1 bar, you know, it's a little tough to get when you're practicing in and out of stuff. And then as you start getting quicker and quicker, you'll start adding more chords. You know, you can add any chord from the C major progression. Then the 2 gives you a minor. The 3 gives you a minor. The 4 gives you a major with a major 7th. And the 5 gives you that dominant sound, which has a major 3rd and a minor 7th. Then you get a minor again. And then you get that flatted 5th. And then there's our C. So that's a great thing to do too, is just practice the root on that 5th string or on the 6th string, and then find your thirds, and you start, and start finding what works over the progression that you're working with. And it's fun to do that on your own so that nobody's really listening to you noodle, or turn it down so that you don't really bother people, because you got to feel free to find the wrong notes. Start counting to yourself, start doing things that are like a little more structured in their sound for a minute, that are just up and down, that you get that feel, and then start going. You know, start trying to throw in arpeggios or, you know, blues licks or whatever. So the difference between that the pentatonic and that modal phone number, when you start looking at those modes, you start to see, okay, well, that means I can do a minor pentatonic if I don't feel like outlining every note of the chord, which gets the listener kind of a little more interested. If you're just playing D minor and then B minor scales the whole time, that's going to bore you and it's going to bore the listener, but it's cool for practice. But when you really start playing guitar, you start using the blues scale a lot, you know, and here we would find two variations of the blues scale, the D, or maybe not the blues scale, the pentatonic at least, that'll give us 5 notes, and then the B pentatonic scales, you know. And then, but of course we have to flat that 5th when we get to the B. So that's something that all of a sudden you're thinking about. So you could think of it as the C major pentatonic scale. There you go. So there's pentatonic major, and then you could just make sure anytime you want to play that C, throw that B in instead. And that's tricky. I probably wouldn't think of it like that, especially if I was improvising. But you could see that you could at least get some minor stuff. You know, you can find some major stuff that's going to work over that progression. So looks like Paul had an aha moment in how to relate I guess you said aha in how you're relating the scales to the chords. And that's really what I was hoping to do, is kind of get you to go, aha, I see. Okay, when I'm playing these 2 chords, I can look at this section of the phone number. All right, great, good. I'm going to wrap it up here. It's 8:30. I got some buddies grilling. I'm going to go eat. I know I've been going on and on. I'm really glad you guys joined me. I really appreciate it. I really hope that you get a chance to sit down and watch it from the beginning, Paul. Guys, again, thank you. If you think Thursdays is something that's cool that you want to do every once in a while, I'm really going to try to do it. Even if you're not here, I'll just kind of record a stream and put it up. I haven't been able to really do too much recording with Kevin, and I've been spending a lot of time working. So, okay, awesome, Paul. I'm glad you got something from it. All right, thanks, you guys. I'll see you soon.